direct impact on the city in which they are extracting a natural resource. The city does have a business tax, but these are two different animals. An oil company can be located outside of the city, sell their products to others outside of the city, and as a result, not generate any sort of tax liability in the city of Los Angeles. So Measure O addresses that. Now, I don't know if everybody knows that Los Angeles sits on one of the largest oil reserves in the country. There are 55 known oil fields in the city of Los Angeles with thousands of producing wells. And I'm just going to give you some idea of some of the areas, and Sherman Oaks is one of them. Venice, Wilmington, Baldwin Hills, Downtown, Century City, and Cheviot Hills. Our city residents have never received any direct benefits from oil extraction, unlike other cities that do have an oil extraction tax. Those cities include Beverly Hills, Inglewood, Long Beach, Seal Beach, just to give you an example. And one of the ways you use an oil extraction tax is to deal with public infrastructure issues. The best example that I can give you is a neighborhood in Baldwin Hills. If you drive up La Brea going to the airport around Stocker, and you'll see a very large oil field. Well, the folks who live around there have to deal with cracked sidewalks, bulging streets, the curb pulling away from the sidewalk, and it's because the invasive slant drilling techniques that are used to extract the oil begin to cause movement in the ground. So in addition to that, I know this because I'm also on the South Coast Air Quality Management District, we deal with a lot of odorous gas complaints in the area. So, you know, I think it's safe to say that oil extraction does cause some environmental impacts. Now, you'll also hear that some of these companies are, you know, just small mom and pops. I actually asked AQMD to give me a list of, because this keeps coming up over and over again. So I got a list of all the oil companies in the basin, and I have to count them up, but I'll tell you the ones that were designated as small business. I think that was $500,000 and what is it, 50 employees? 10? Okay, 10 employees or less. I have a list of, let's see, 4 pages. It looks like three or 4 pages. And on that list, only less than 10 of them are defined as small businesses. The rest are defined as larger businesses or medium-sized businesses. So this is not about hurting small businesses. This is about creating a nexus so that the residents of the city of Los Angeles can have direct benefit from extraction within their own communities. The next one is Measure P, and just to keep this light, this is a series of rainy day savings measures. It creates, first of all, this is a practice in which we engage now, but it is not codified in the charter. The language is not part of the charter, and with term limits and whatever, you never know what's going to come along. So by putting this in the charter, it makes the language a permanent part of our record that cannot be altered. It establishes an emergency reserve fund that will contain no less than 2.75% of the general fund, and it can only be used when there is a 2/3 vote of the council and concurrence of the mayor. So what it does, you look at the emergency reserve fund, and it establishes 2 accounts within that. Contingency reserve account, which covers unanticipated budget shortfalls, and a budget stabilization fund, or a rainy day fund. And that is to be used when revenue shortfalls are anticipated, so we set aside money in good times to hold us over in the bad times. It sets a minimum contribution in the emergency reserve, and then by putting it in the charter, we formalize financial policies for time immemorial that way. And then the last one is Charter Amendment Q, and it's a personnel change. It came upon recommendation of our General Manager of Personnel, and the impact of it is to reduce administrative costs related to the examination appointment of city employees. And basically, we're downsizing, there's not as many jobs available. We don't want to keep encouraging people to apply for jobs that may never come open. So it limits the pool, it narrows the window, it prevents an unnecessarily large candidate pool for civil service positions, and prevents the certification of all eligible candidates for civil service positions when there is no hiring taking place. It standardizes a probationary period for police officers at the airport, the harbor, and general services department, and it limits the length of emergency appointments for no longer than 1 year. Anyway, that's kind of an inside baseball one, but it's basically administrative. So I think I covered them all, didn't I?
I think you did, and I think Matt has a lot of questions.
Okay.
Football, well, is this a political football that we're playing here? Absolutely. Okay, before we take Matt's questions, I want to thank the Councilwoman actually, because normally I get, well, not thank you for being here, but normally I get calls in my office the day the person's speaking, you know, the various people we have, saying, well, you know, the council person is very busy. So what time do you think the council person will be on at the evening? I'll say, well, 7:30, 7:45. And most of them show up around 7:30 or 7:45. What time were you here? I think it's about 6:15.
I like to be on time, and I heard you had food.
At least she's honest. So we thank you for coming, and because one of the other reasons we like to invite people like yourself, we want you to know the issues that affect the Sherman Oaks and the San Fernando Valley. With that, Matt, do you have any tough questions?
No tough questions, and they're not my questions. They're these folks' questions. And you're planning on sticking around afterwards in case I don't get to the questions. Okay. Okay, great. And for some of you folks, there's a few questions having to do with real local issues, Sherman Oaks, your street lights are out, such like that. We will get those to the appropriate council member, but it's not for Jan, so I'm not going to ask those questions. And if I don't get to your question, if Richard stops, it's not because you didn't have the best questions, because Richard stopped me, or possibly because I couldn't read your question because of the legibility. So anyway, I actually have the first question is actually the person that put their name on it, but there's some rumor here that you're going to run for mayor, and if that's true, why are you the best candidate? And this is actually from, oh, I see the name, Wendy Gruel. Oh no.
So I didn't know we were going to have a talk show for me. Yes, I am. I am going to run for mayor, and I'm going to. So, okay, thank you. I would love if you decide that that's okay. I'd love to come back and talk to you exclusively about that. I mean, I can talk for hours. I'm a middle child, but I need the attention. Yeah, I'd be happy to come back and talk to you about it. Well, if you want, why do I think I'm the best candidate?
Yeah.
In one sentence?
Two.
Okay, 2 sentences. I think I have been fortunate enough to represent a district that I think embodies the essence of what our city can be. Downtown is the greatest employer of people in the entire basin. We have 40,000 people coming into downtown Los Angeles every day just to work. So I feel fortunate that I've been able to develop so many projects to be able to put more people back to work. We have the greatest confluence of public transportation options in downtown Los Angeles, and the greatest mix of different types of housing. When I mentioned that I had so many challenges, one of the things that I've been able to do is to create housing for people who are empty nesters and downsizing, and housing for people who are just starting out in life. It always scares me when I think about, even for myself, you know, when my daughter's ready, she would not be able to buy the home in which she was raised. I don't think I could buy the home in which I was raised. Well, maybe we could now. I'm not sure. We'll see how it works out. But I created a broad cross-section of different types of housing choices for people at different income levels. And I've been able to take the energy, the economic development that has occurred downtown and used to spread it into the southern part of the district that has affected the eastern side of the city, in Mr. Reyes' district and north up into Chinatown by creating and attracting even more new businesses. Now we have, the best part is now we have one convention center hotel. We have plans for a number of more convention center hotels, but what it means is we have more tourists here, we have more tourists spending money here and bringing in new tax revenue here so that we can possibly crawl back up to where we need to be able to provide the services that we need to provide to you and make this a better city. Now, mind you, just like your district, I am very cognizant, see, aren't you sorry? Yes. I am very cognizant that single-family residential neighborhoods are the backbone of anyone's community. Even for me, as I build downtown, I recognize that South Los Angeles, the single-family homes, are what sustain this community through thick and thin, through good times and bad times. So I always am very aware of making sure that I strike a balance with any development that I undertake, and making sure that we preserve that so that people can continue to pursue a quality of life. You know, I remember reading an article in the LA Weekly, and it was about the Grand Avenue project, and the reporter interviewed a lot of folks from the, it's the Valley Coalition of Neighborhood Councils. So I called Jill and a couple of folks, and I said, you know, your comments struck me very much because they're the same things that people from South Los Angeles say about downtown. The level, the feeling of being disengaged, that you're not a part of it. So I said, I want to take you on a tour, because I take people on tours all the time. So we've done our third tour already. Took a bunch of folks, and we took them all over downtown, showed them things that they hadn't seen in probably 10 or 15 years. And, you know, I explained to them, you know, maybe this might not be for you, but this could be for your grandchild or your daughter or your son or whatever. A place to come, a place to socialize, a place to experience culture, a place to work. And you know, we talked a lot about, I showed them the Grand Avenue Civic Park. The last tour we took folks to see a building that has 71 women in it now who used to live on the street, and it's this beautiful, gorgeous building. So, you know, anyway, let me come back and talk about it in a more focused way, but you asked.
I did. My next question is actually from me. When I was reading through all the information on the ballot measures, one of the issues, the pension reform, I was like excited. All right, pension reform, we need that. That's awesome. I was very concerned. I wish the people had the opportunity to line out what we're voting for, because as you go through the pension reform, the new pension reform, the option A or option B, the same old or the new one, which is pension reform, you have in the end, as far as the last year of service is what the pension is based on. I believe in the new one it's 2 years. But what the folks do, they know the game. They know how the game is played, and they run up their overtime hours. They save all these overtime hours. A lot of the unions do that. A lot of the people who, it's a game to raise their pension up, so that instead of if someone's working, let's just say if someone's making $50,000 a year their entire career, and then the last year they make $100,000 a year because they got all these overtime stuff. That's what the pension is based on. How is that pension reform?
Well, no, you can't. Your pension is based on your base pay, your salary. Now, what you're talking about is people who have the ability to garner overtime pay through their job, but that is not what their pension is based on. But what's interesting about that comment is some people, and I don't want to name departments, but some people become so accustomed to having overtime pay that they feel that is their salary, and then when we roll back or cut back on their overtime options, they feel that their pay is being reduced, when in fact overtime is not a given. It is something that you earn on top of your salary. So just so you understand, this is based on your salary for your final 2 years of employment. Just your salary, not your salary plus overtime.
Okay.
So and it's a common belief that we constantly